Okay. Well, so yeah, we're a little behind, but what are we like? So technically, this debate started like what
45 minutes ago.
45 minutes ago. Yeah, give or take. So let's just. I think I paused it right when it was about to start. So let's just play it here.
The people are tired, exhausted of the fighting and the hatred.
Okay. 20 seconds before it actually starts, but
we'll be right back.
On ABC.
Oh God. So predictions. What do you think?
I think that the muting is going to be absolutely necessary.
Think so?
Yeah.
How many times do you think that they're gonna have to mute
This is an ABC News
Trump?
Special. An election
Can I guess in dozens instead of singles? Because I feel
Yeah,
like
any
that might
number.
be better.
I mean, honestly, I wonder if it's gonna like. See, I don't know if the muting is gonna be a benefit or a detriment to his deal. I'm not really sure. Like, for me, I feel like honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think Biden just has to like, because he's leading so far in the polls right now. He just has to like, just play it cool. Don't worry about rocking the boat too much.
Honestly, I think he could come out swinging a little bit harder this time.
You think
I feel
so?
I feel like, Trump has done nothing but implode over the past like 4 weeks.
That's probably true, yeah.
And look at this, like 47 million of us. 47 million.
What?
That is approaching a third of the total number of people who voted last year.
I was gonna say, wasn't it like altogether? I think it was like 120 million, a little bit more. I think because I remember both Clinton and Trump were like 60 plus million each. I think they're recording. I think like what was it? Texas early votes already cast were more than the entire state voting for Donald Trump, and that's just right now. As that news is a few days old, and I think they're projecting like the turnout for this is going to be as large as 1908. So quite a while.
Well, it looks like we're finally getting that realignment that's been overdue for the last 40 years.
This is going to be, I think you're going to see probably one of the highest turnouts. Probably within the century, definitely.
Certainly within the goodness. I mean, this might be our 1908. This might be one of those like party and policy defining elections for the next 50 years.
So I think as this is happening right now. So right now, I think what's going to be talked about is this scandal that the Republicans are trying to create with Hunter Biden. I think that's going to be talked about a lot. Also, in breaking news, what was it? In North Carolina, a guy was recently caught with guns and explosives trying to assassinate Joe Biden. So
he was originally caught with kiddie porn.
Okay. Of course. Okay, so
the first thing they caught him on was the child porn, and they found all of the guns, explosives, and plot to kill Joe Biden later. Okay. So
there's always a pedophilia angle to this shit.
There's always. I can't believe how fucking popular fucking kids is. It feels really surreal. Like, I really hope it's overblown, but I'm sad to say I don't think it is.
I totally forgot who the host who moderating the debate was. So this MSNBC girl is
Kristen Welker.
I remember her when I used to watch a lot of MSNBC back when I was a lib. The good old days.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you remember when you used to think capitalism could be fixed? That was fun.
I think like back then, like for me, it was like I was trying to figure out what the latest news of Russiagate was, the Mueller investigation, stuff like that. They were like, I was like, we got him, boys. And then
we got him. We got him.
It fizzled in nothing.
Always did.
Can you hear it okay?
I'm having a little trouble when we talk here on the audio of this. Can we turn just that'll up a little bit? Yeah. There we go.
We also got closed caption for people who find it to be a little low on the volume.
I do want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics. At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer, and the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones
that's a game changer.
on, but
He
on
has
behalf of the
exactly
voters,
2
I'm going
minutes to
ask
fit
them
all
to
of his
please
bullshit
speak one at a
into.
time.
He might almost
The
sound
goal is for you to
eloquent as a
hear each
result
other
of that.
and for the American people to hear every word of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the
That
fight
smug
against the
look on his
coronavirus.
face.
President Trump, the first
not gonna
question
be-
is for you.
It's not going to bother me.
The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the
Loves
world
using
in
that
order
number.
to fight this
That's if
horrible
we didn't do
disease that
anything.
came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe.
Not
and
anymore, it ain't.
many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country.
Way down.
And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and
No,
surges.
no,
in
it's
other
not
places
gone, you
that
idiot.
soon
It's still
to come.
climbing.
We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military
Operation
is going
Warp
to
Speed.
distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a
Vaccinations
therapeutic, I guess
don't-
they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure.
They're not cures.
But, I was
I mean,
in
they
for a
gave you the
short period
best
of time,
medicine
and I got
that
better
is
very
not
fast, or I
available
wouldn't
for
be here
most
today.
Americans.
And now they say I'm immune, whether it's 4 months or a lifetime. Nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do.
Which ones?
Yeah, I know, right?
If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President
Is it,
Biden, to you,
Donnie?
how would you lead the country out of
Is
this
it?
crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day. And there are over 70.
Yeah, is your state getting
cases
record
per day.
cases? Because mine is every day.
Compared
Isn't,
to
yeah.
what's
Yep.
going on in Europe, as the New
Hey,
England Medical
everybody,
Journal
the
said, they're
pandemic
starting from
isn't
a
over
very
just because you're
low
over it.
rate.
We're still in the middle of
starting
this.
from a
It's
very
now
high
worse
rate.
than it's ever
The
been.
expectation
Seriously.
is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that. We're in a situation now where the New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious
Businesses?
journals
Yeah.
in the whole world, said
Now,
for
hang
the
on.
first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis
About
has
3 million
been
people are
absolutely
set to be
tragic.
evicted this
And so,
month.
folks,
I was
will
going to
take
say
care
that
of this. I will
eviction
end this. I will
moratorium is
make sure
actually going to
we have a
expire
plan.
soon, right?
President Trump,
Yeah,
I'd
I
like
don't-
to
I think
follow
I was
up with
wrong on the
you
date
and your
last time
comments.
we
You
did
talked
this.
about taking a therapeutic.
Not
I
gonna-
assume you're
yeah, I
referencing
mean,
Regeneron. You also said a vaccine
That
will
will
be coming
that type of
within
chaos
weeks.
will play in
Is
Trump's
that a
advantage when you got
guarantee?
people who
Is
are more
that-
It's not a
concerned about
guarantee,
finding
but it will
shelter
be
than
by
finding
the end
a
of the year,
place
but
to
I think
vote.
it has a
But
good chance. There are 2 companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very
Can
quickly.
you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well.
Family
Moderna is
company.
doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information. You have said a vaccine is coming
man.
soon within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for
Telling
enough
me.
Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics. And this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine. And we
Okay.
expect to have
Yeah,
100
you got something.
million
That's all-
vials.
that's
As soon as
almost
we have the
prescient.
vaccine,
That-
he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved
But
by
he's
the
having the
government. What
military do
steps
it,
would
not
you
the
take to
Department of
give
the
Americans
Interior?
confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure
I
it's
you know, I don't
totally
know the the
transparent.
importance of that
Have the
actually.
scientists
Maybe that's just my
Mm.
ignorance to
know
that
it,
subject.
Look at it. Go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter.
Yeah.
And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President
Well,
Trump,
I
your
say we
reaction
all get
says you
drunk
have no
because
plan.
I'm a lot of ideas.
At all. We're opening
I
up
mean-
our country. We've learned and studied and understand the
Keep in mind
disease,
that these
which we
cases
didn't
that
at
we're
the
seeing right
beginning.
now are
When
like
I
2 weeks
closed and
behind because of
banned
incubation,
China
and like
from
if you're
coming
seeing
in
this
heavily
trend,
infected,
like
and then
it's
ultimately
really
Europe.
not looking
But
good.
China
I
was
know in
in
my
January.
county in Ohio,
Months later, he was saying I was
Cuyahoga, it's
xenophobic.
one
I
of the
did
more
it too
popular,
soon. Now he's saying,
populous
oh,
ones.
I should have,
there's
moved
red.
quicker. But he didn't.
We're
move
going
quicker.
into
He was
purple.
months behind me.
There's nothing
Many
after
months behind
purple.
me. And frankly, he ran
have no
the
color
H1N1
palettes after that.
swine
I'm
flu,
gonna have to shift
and it
the
was a
scale.
total disaster,
I
far less
guess.
lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now. But it was
That's
a
not
far
even a little bit
less
true.
lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Our response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source
This
was.
is
What did the
important
president
because
say in January?
his plausible
He said, no,
deniability
he said, this
on
is-
what they
he's
knew
being
before the
transparent.
outbreak is
The
important.
president of China is being
And
transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank
There
him.
was more
And
information
then
that the
what happened
administration
was we
knew.
started talking about using the defense.
So they've
Wait.
just been keeping
to
it
make
from
sure we
us,
go out
and
do
China
whatever's
actually didn't
needed
stonewall the
out
way that
there
we
to
were told
protect it.
originally.
Yeah.
And
Basically,
again, I go back to
What
this.
the
He had
fuckers.
nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he
It's
gets
just
out
it
of the
just sucks because it
hospital
was a bad
and
it was like the
he talks
perfect
about,
storm of like
"We're-
everything
this is
bad
all-
because
don't
like
worry. It's all
Trump,
gonna be
of
over
course,
soon."
just
Come
has a
on.
distaste for
There's
our
not another
intelligence
serious
community.
scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
So he, of course, he didn't believe the news that was coming. What limited information that they had in China at the time, he decided to ignore it.
Like Joe does. He has the ability to lock.
Wait,
Also-
he just said we can't lock ourselves in the basement like Joe does. You're the only person on that stage who's locked himself in a basement, buddy.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's the one that locked himself in a bunker during the protest.
Myself in the basement.
Oh wait, he
for a
was
beautiful room in the White
just
House
checking
and
it
go
out,
away for a
making
year
sure
and a
everything
half
was
until until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families. Every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible.
You just
to
can't
have
even
canceled
keep
everything.
a single sentence going.
This is dangerous, and you catch it. And I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals.
What you said.
And now I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy, though. You have
respond to that?
30 seconds, please, and then I have a question.
No, number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it.
Interesting to see how much they're going to allow to go back and forth on
this
things.
Morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he has never said, he said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault.
I take full responsibility, but it's not my fault.
It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China.
I guess what he means is they take full responsibility for the shitty response.
Including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that. A lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to
You see him smacking his tongue.
His face like,
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this,
No, you
when I
weren't.
closed,
it's always just
he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did. You certainly did.
I talked about a xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
He thought
this.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well,
That's obvious.
do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies.
Good job, Joe.
Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support
Bringing out that little bit of Uncle
recommended it.
Joe that
What do you
everybody
say to
finds
Americans
so
who are
endearing.
fearful that the cost of shutdowns,
One thing
the
that I'm a little
impact on
bit
the
worried
economy,
about with
the
Joe
high
Biden
rates of
becoming
hunger,
president.
depression,
He is
domestic
really,
and substance abuse
Trump's the
outweighs
crazy
risk of
uncle,
exposure
and
to the virus.
Biden's
the
the
touchy uncle. I had a discussion with my dad about this, about
It's
like
his ineptitude that caused the virus,
dad,
caused the
the
country
time-
to have to shut down in large part.
he had
why
this.
businesses have gone under.
He had
why
this.
schools have
He was
closed,
telling me
why
this
so many people
this
have
deal one
lost
time.
their
He knows
living,
our neighbor
and why they're
who
concerned.
has a
Those
daughter
other
that goes to
concerns
high
are real.
school, and
That's
he
why
thought it was very
he should have
nice.
been,
It
instead
was
of being a
raining, and he
sand trap at his
was
golf
going to
course, he
offer
should
her.
have been
He saw her walking down
negotiating
the street
with
and
Nancy
offered her
Pelosi
a
and the
ride.
rest of the
I'm like,
Democrats
Dad, you
and
can't do
Republicans
that.
what to
That's
do
really
about
fucking
the tax
creepy.
they were passing for billions of dollars
Yeah,
to
but
make
they
sure
don't, they
people
don't
had the
really, they
capacity.
don't get
You
it
haven't ruled out
sometimes.
I know
shutdowns.
it's a different time. I
Oh,
get that's the
no,
same thing that he
I'm
told
not
me.
shutting
Like,
down the neighbor.
I understand that, but like,
Look,
there's bad
you need
optics now.
standards.
You got to be
the
careful when
standard
you do
is
that
if you
shit.
have a reproduction rate in a community that's above
I
a
gotta
certain
wear
level,
this original in
everybody
my
says,
pocket for you.
more social distancing. Do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open until you get this under control, under more control. But when you do open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example,
This is
schools.
muddled.
Schools,
Like-
they need a lot of money to open. They need
Okay,
to
the
deal
school
with
approach, I
ventilation
get.
systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods.
Because the government could
And
directly
he refused
affect
to
to make sure
support
that
that money,
schools
or
are
at least up to
properly,
now.
Let's talk about
safety
schools.
maintained.
President Trump,
I
you-
think
But
we
like
have
with
to respond to
businesses,
him.
when you give businesses
Senator,
their
I
own
have a
discretion,
Thank you, and I
most of them
appreciate that.
half-ass it.
Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about
Obviously,
him. His
money.
Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York. You look at what's going on in California. You look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina. Democrats, Democrats
fucking leave
they're
Pennsylvania
shut
out of
down
this.
so tight, and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people.
I noticed he
Way
left out
lower numbers.
he left out
We're not gonna
Michigan
shut
with
down,
Whitmore.
and we have to open our
Mainly because
schools.
probably
And
because
it's like,
doesn't want to
as
bring
an
up the whole
example, we have a
kidnapping
young son.
fiasco.
He also tested positive.
Yeah, you know
By the
why they're
time I
dying
spoke
here
to
in
the doctor
Pennsylvania?
the second time, he was fine. It just went away.
Because of all the
Young
Trumplicans
people,
running around
I
without
guess
wearing
it's their
fucking
immune
masks.
system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person.
I think they're
and
really
insist they can
seeing
do it
like
safely. But
that
just
Sturgis
yesterday,
bike rally
Boston became
in South
the latest
Dakota
city
was
to
like
move its public
one of the
school
biggest
system
super
entirely
spreaders of the
online
virus.
after a coronavirus
They're
spike.
tracing so
What is your
many
message to
incidents
parents
from
who
that
worry
one
that
event.
sending their children to school
Oh
will
my
endanger
God.
not only their kids but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have
No,
to
that's
open
not
our
true. I
country.
mean,
We're gonna have a
anecdotally
country.
speaking, my
You
boss
can't do
actually
this. We
had
can't
to
keep this
stay home
country
from work
closed.
the other day
This is a
because
massive
his kid had to get
country with a
tested.
massive economy.
And of course,
People
since he
are
lives with his
losing
son,
their
he had to
jobs. They're
quarantine
committing
himself in the
suicide.
meanwhile
There's
until they got the
depression,
results. So I
alcohol,
mean, like this is
drugs
a
at
serious thing
level
that's
that
happening right
nobody's
now
ever
in
seen
terms of like
before.
schools and
There's abuse,
how they're able to
tremendous
transmit it.
abuse. We have to
So,
open our country.
someone in my daughter's
The
school
cure cannot
recently
be worse
came
than
up
the
positive
problem
with it.
itself.
Really?
And that's what's
Yeah,
happening.
one who's
And
there
he
the
wants
same
to
day
close
she
down.
is.
He'll close down the country.
Their plan
One
is
person in
way
our-
more
in our
rigorous than the kind of
massive
plan that's
bureaucracy says
mandated
we
by
should
the
close it
state.
down.
The
Vice
state.
President Biden, your response.
Simply not true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open.
The point
They
is,
need resources to
thankfully,
open.
because they keep
You need
each
to be
classroom
able to, for
sequestered
example, if
to
you're gonna open a
itself, and
business,
there's no
have
like
social distancing within the business. You need to
there's no
have, if you
cross
have a
contact
restaurant, you need to
between
have
classrooms
plexiglass
ever.
dividers so
Yeah.
people cannot infect one another.
We're
You need to be
fine,
in a position where you can
But that
take
class was
testing
told
rapidly
stay
and know
home
whether
for a
a person
while
is
Oh,
in
okay.
fact infected.
till
You
everything's
need to be able
so
to
we can be
trace. You
sure
need to
none
be
of
able
y'all
to
have
provide
it and everything's
all the
okay.
resources that are
Gotcha.
needed to do this, and that is not
gonna be-
inconsistent
I mean, it's difficult.
with
I mean-
saying that what we're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I will say this.
But-
If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are
What does that
restaurants that
have
are
to do-
dying.
I mean,
These are
he's right and
businesses
he's
with no
wrong.
money.
At the beginning, when New
Putting
York
up
was shut down,
plexiglass
because
is
I have
unbelievably
an
expensive,
ex whose
and
friend
it's
is a
not
nurse,
the answer. I mean,
and
you're
she
gonna sit
volunteered
there
to go
in a
to New York, and
cubicle
she was
wrapped
taking
around
pictures
with
around Times
plastic.
Square. It
It's-
was
these are
empty.
businesses that are dying, Joe. You
like-
can't do that to
It was like from
Yeah, but
scenes
it's-
from like The
Take
Last Man on
a
Earth or
look at New
something.
York and what's
Yeah, it's
happened
not
to
it's
my
not like that now.
wonderful
I've
city.
got
Yeah, but that was back
For
like
so many
April.
years, I loved
I've
it. It
got
was
some
vibrant.
family that
It's
lives in
dying.
Brooklyn,
Everyone's leaving
and
New York.
things
Take a
are
look.
moving.
What New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states.
Yep.
They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer.
He's
and
talking about
nothing's
the
happening.
Heroes Act, everybody.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000.
And I should say, I
11,000
think, Nancy
people in
Pelosi
that
right
city.
now is in a
President
pickle
Trump,
because
Take a look at what's
Trump
happening
cut off
in
the
Pennsylvania,
talks for
where they've had
coronavirus
it closed.
relief, and now
Take
he's
a
talking
look at what's
about
happening with your friend in Michigan.
different
where her husband's
standalone.
the only one allowed to do anything.
Oh, a
It's
different
been like a
standalone
prison.
thing.
Yeah.
He's done
And
this
it was
for.
just
He's
ruled
done this like 3
unconstitutional.
times.
Well, the problem
Take a
is
look at
now
North
is that he's
Carolina.
actually
They're having spikes,
asking
and
for
they've
more
been closed,
money
and
that
they're
Pelosi
getting
offered.
killed
So
financially. We can't let that
she's in a
happen,
pickle
Joe.
now
You can't
where,
let that happen. We have to
she
open up.
either,
And we understand
approves the
disease.
bill
We have to protect our seniors. We have
and
to
it
protect
makes,
our elderly.
Trump
we have
look
to protect,
good,
especially our
or
seniors
she
with heart
doesn't,
problems
and she's put in a
diabetes
situation where,
problems, and we will protect.
it's
We
going
have
to
the
be used
best
against her,
testing in the
basically, like,
world
oh, well,
by
she doesn't
far.
want to help
That's
the
why we have
Americans
so
right
many
now.
cases.
Let me follow up
It's a
with you
joke.
before we move on to our next section.
there's
President Trump,
like-
last week you
I would
called
add
Dr.
that
Anthony
probably
Fauci
we're not
the
going to
nation's
see any
best-known
type of
infectious
relief
disease
package
expert,
until
quote,
February
a
next
disaster.
year.
You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots.
Like this
If
is
you're not
dangerous
listening to
because
them,
like what
who
if
are
Donald
you
Trump
listening to?
loses and he's a
I'm
lame duck
listening to
president
all of them,
and he
including
decides
Anthony.
not
I
to
get
sign
on
any
very
bills,
well with Anthony,
any
but
relief?
He did say, don't wear masks. He did did say,
No, he didn't.
as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are
Who
not
said
going to have a
that?
problem
Is he
at
saying?
all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony
if you're talking
Fauci
about
said,
Fauci
and
or
others,
Joe.
and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look,
Fauci's not a
nobody
Fauci.
knew what this thing was.
Democrat.
Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned.
I don't
about
look
it.
at
But
Fauci for
Anthony
his
said,
political
"Don't
leanings.
wear
I look at him
masks."
strictly
Neither-
as
wear
a
masks.
scientist.
Anthony
And
also
Neither do
If you look
I,
back,
but like
exact
it's
words,
worth
uses
noting
exact
that
words.
he's
This is
not
no problem.
a
This is gonna go
Democrat,
away soon.
and
So he's allowed to make
Yeah.
mistakes.
Trump's trying
his
to
politics
play
are
that
a
game.
non-issue.
Vice
It's,
President
it's
Biden, your
what he
response
said
quickly, and then
about
we're
the
gonna move on
virus,
to the
which
next
is all
section.
been
My
true.
response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us. Americans don't panic. He panicked. But guess
This
what?
is-
in the meantime, we find out in the New York Times
You know,
the other day that,
working
in fact,
with the-
his folks went to Wall
in
Street and
retail
said
at
this
the
is a really
time.
dangerous thing.
I remember
people
when
fucking
people
panicked.
freaked
Not
out.
from
There was no
the
toilet
administration,
paper.
but
So
from
yeah,
some of the
people
brokers
panicked.
said,
I mean,
sell short
Fauci's initial
because we gotta
comment
get
about
moving.
not wearing
It's a
masks
dangerous
was to
problem.
prevent
I'm gonna
people
give
from
you 30 seconds
hoarding
to respond,
masks.
and then we're
The
gonna
Wall
move
Street
on.
one, I don't know. Somebody
That's
went to
now
Wall
been
Street.
misconstrued
You're the one
by
that takes
Trump
all the money
constantly.
from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I haven't.
You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money. As president and as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you
Dude.
bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In
I'm
fact,
friends with these
we
people,
beat
but
Hillary
you're the
Clinton
Wall
with a
Street
tiny
guy.
fraction of the money that she was able
All
to
right,
get.
gentlemen, we're going
Don't
to
tell
move
me
on.
about Wall
Average
Street.
contribution $43.
All right, we're
Oh,
going to
don't
move
pull
on
a
to our
Bernie
next section,
Sanders.
which is national security.
I mean, that is
And I do
pretty
wanna
much.
start
He's
with the
gotta
security
like.
of our
That's the only
elections and some
response you can
breaking
give to
news
that.
from
It's
overnight.
the right
Just last
play.
night,
I
top
mean,
intelligence officials confirmed again that both
stinks.
Russia
It
and
tastes
Iran
bad.
are working to influence this
I don't want
election.
to. I don't want to
Both
know how
countries
good
have
he is at
obtained US
grassroots
voter
organizing.
registration information, these
Although I
officials
also
say, and
kind of
Iran
want to
sent
know.
intimidating messages
Well,
to
I mean, there's
Florida
difference between
voters.
average
This
and
question goes to you,
median
Mr. Vice President. What would you
contribution.
do to put an end to this
Let's
threat? You
say,
have 2 minutes
You know,
uninterrupted.
me and you
I made it
contribute
clear. And I ask everyone else to take the pledge.
The
I
average
made it clear
contribution
that
would
any
be
country, no matter who it is, that
$1,000.
interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved.
You know, this is important
They
because,
will
like, I
pay a
feel
price.
like
If I'm
foreign
elected, they're
intervention has been
interfering with
kind of on the
American
back burner this
sovereignty.
election.
That's what's going on right
Maybe
now.
because
They're
so
interfering
much
with
other,
American
everything else
sovereignty.
has been
And
happening
to the best
this
of my
year.
knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him
Yeah,
that
it doesn't feel
what
good,
is
does it, Joe?
happening with his buddy, well, I shouldn't, well, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information
breaking
that is
news.
Russian.
Rudy
He's
Giuliani.
tucking in his shirt
And then what happens?
Rudy
Nothing
Giuliani.
happens.
for 5
Then you find
fucking
out
minutes.
Everything is going
Was
on
not
here.
trying to
about
pull out a
Russia is
boner.
wanting to make sure that
He was
I do
just
Yeah,
not
don't
get
pull a-
elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them.
I
and
gotta
they
watch that
know
Sasha
me.
Baron Cohen
I don't understand why.
No,
this
she's
president
15.
is
She's too
unwilling to
old
take
for you.
on Putin when he's actually
Fuck.
paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities
That's
trying to
honestly just like
destabilize all
poetic
of
irony
NATO.
for
I don't
someone
know
like
why he doesn't do
Giuliani
it, but
to
it's
get caught
worth
doing that
asking
shit
the
after he's
question,
trying to
why
smear
isn't
Joe
that being
Biden's
done?
son.
Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay
Yeah,
a price because they're affecting our
if
sovereignty.
Giuliani actually has
President Trump,
a
same
laptop
question
full
to
of
you.
child
Let me
porn,
ask
he
the
put
question.
it
You have
there.
2 minutes
So
to
like,
respond. For 2
either
elections in a
here's
row now,
here's
there
the
has been
cool
substantial
question: if
interference
he
from
has
foreign
this laptop,
adversaries. What would you do
he's
in your
still in
nation's
possession
government
of
to put an end to this? 2
rather a
minutes
lot of
Let me
child
respond to the
pornography
first
right
part,
now,
as Joe
and
answered.
the
Joe got
FBI would
$3.5
have
million
no
from Russia,
choice but to
and it came
arrest
through
him
Putin
and
because he was
throw
very
the
friendly
fucking
with
book
the
at him. But if he's lying,
the mayor of Moscow's wife, and
it's
you got
there's
$3.5
another
million
charge for it.
Your
It's not
family got
obstruction.
$3.5
It's something
million,
related.
and, someday you're going to have to explain why did you get.
What is it, like falsifying a police report or something?
I don't get money from Russia. Now about your
I think
thing last
so.
night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them. They both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia between the sanctions. Nobody tougher than the
He doesn't even have to say anything. He can just look at the camera and smile, and 2/3 of the audience is like, "Yeah, we know, Joe."
Well,
now the new deal is Iran is actually helping Joe Biden win. So
that's to guard against Russia.
Makes sense for them to do that, for them to run a counterintelligence op against it. Because
I don't know. I think this campaign is so desperate right now. I think they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
I mean, but that's the thing. The difference between Russia helping the Trump campaign in the last election and Iran trying to help out the Biden campaign in this one is that one of these campaigns specifically asked a foreign government for aid last time, and the other did not.
But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails.
I see the spin though is that Iran wants Joe Biden to win so he can reinstitute the Iran nuclear deal.
Well, yeah, of course they do. That makes absolute sense. In fact, I think he should reinstitute that deal. It was a good deal.
Oh no, I
it
agree
was a
too.
bad fucking move. We're closer to nuclear annihilation right now than we have been anytime since like 1957. It's,
regardless of me, I think
this is a dark time. This is a dark moment.
People, maybe you can do it right now.
Vice President Biden, you may respond.
Okay, straight here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money.
Do you see him looking at the camera right there? He actually knows he's caught on this one. He's shaking his head, but that was like, that was a look of humble fear.
22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can.
This motherfucker's been under audit for like
for the last 4 fucking years. No, look, even the Internal Revenue Service doesn't run that slow, Donnie.
I asked them a week ago. I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate.
Oh, well, can we have a look at those returns, please? So we can verify that you're not just bullshitting us right now to try and save your ass?
Excuse me.
We do that?
Whenever they write this, they keep talking
Oh, no?
Unfortunately, we're probably never going to see until after he's no longer president. So
millions and millions of dollars
within the beginning of next year or
I don't make money from China.
the end of 2024.
I don't make money from Ukraine.
I don't make money from China, you do?
Make money from Russia.
Is he seriously doing the I'm rubber, you're glue defense?
Your son gave you. They even have a
here it goes. Here comes Burisma.
We have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10%.
This is so weird how they're trying to like make this scandal like Joe Biden demanded from his son a little bit off the top, and he wanted to get a little taste of it. The Burisma money.
Burisma money. Come on.
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there deep down in the
Oh, wow, he pulled up an
IRS, they
old
treat me
gaffe.
horribly. We made
I remember
a
that
deal,
when
it
the
was all
Obama
settled until I
administration
decided to run for president.
told the IRS to
I
look
get
heavily
treated
at
very
Tea
badly
Party
by the IRS, very
institutions.
unfairly. But we had a
I mean,
deal
it was
done.
the right thing to
As soon
do.
as we're completed
That's
with
one of the
deal,
things.
I
Like a lot of these things
I
that
have paid
Republicans
millions and millions
throw up
of
as like,
dollars.
look at
And
this
it's worse
sign of
than that.
corruption. Is
I paid in
no,
advance. It's
that
called prepaying your
made
taxes.
sense at the
I paid in
time.
advance.
I want to ask
Like-
you both about questions regarding your
That's
was,
old news too. I don't know how that's going to resonate with so
how
many
does that?
people.
To talk about this more broadly, respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Yeah, all of the Nazis are like, "Oh, Tea Party, oh, to be young again."
Remember when that was the radical movement? It was rather moderate nowadays.
To stay there. I would have loved to stay there. I would have loved libertarians to just take over the fucking thing.
Little did we know that was just the beginning.
When last time he said what he paid, he said,
We didn't realize how many libertarians would default to
I know how to
fascism.
game the system.
Yeah, well, you don't have to push them. You don't have to move.
Doesn't take a big push.
Two questions.
Yeah, you don't have to move the window to the right further. You just have to open the sash a little bit to get them up to the top of that quadrant.
I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president.
It's harder to move it left or right.
I mean, this is all that Trump has right now, is just throwing like fucking dust in the air and trying to muddy the waters. So like people, basically, yeah. For like normies to be like, I don't fucking know, but you know, at this point,
collusion and nothing wrong.
if you look at certain polls in certain states, you know, Joe Biden is over 50%. So right now, Trump not only has to sway all the undecided voters, he has to pick some off of Biden.
Your brother made money in Iraq. Millions
But of course, 2016 looms in my background, so I'm never certain about any of this shit. So
Yeah, well, one of the things about 2016,
All right, gentlemen, let me
and
just
I don't know if we touched on this last time or not.
Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work
But,
has done in China and for Ukraine.
now I'm interested. Fuck, I've lost my train of thought. We'll come back to that.
okay, put a pin in there. We'll put a
2016
pin in there.
election. All right.
Appropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal.
Talk
With
about
regard
Hunter
to
Biden
Ukraine.
here.
We had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing. Number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever
Yeah,
happened.
keep in mind this desperation
My son
for a
has
smear
not
campaign
made money
led to an
in
impeachment.
terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
President
No, okay.
Well,
now,
there's plenty of American businesses that made money in China. Let's just, you know, that's
buddy,
Didn't have a job for a long time.
pal.
Sadly, no longer in the military service.
the reason why we have
Joe,
this
Uncle
problem
Joe,
with China.
no.
The only reason why we have this problem with China right now is because a lot of businesses want to make a quick buck on Chinese cheap labor.
Best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President
That's
respond to that quickly, and then I need to get to a question to you. Very
No
quickly,
basis for
Vice
that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong. And
That is
right.
true. The
Okay,
Senate
President Trump,
Intelligence
this is for you.
Committee
Since you took
investigated
office,
this whole
you've never
thing, and they
divested from
quietly
your
let it
business. You
die because they
personally
realized
promoted your properties abroad.
nothing
A report
illegal
this
happened.
week,
I mean,
which was
unethical,
referenced,
sure,
indicate
but
that your company
nepotism
has
has
a bank
always been
account in
rampant.
China.
It's
So
not
how can
specific
voters
to
know
the
that you
Biden
don't have
family.
any foreign conflicts
She is
of
actually
I
now
have many
pinning him
bank
to the
accounts,
wall
and they're
about you
all
never
listed,
gave up your
and they're all
properties abroad.
I
So,
was a businessman
emoluments?
doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which
Speaking of
everybody
nepotism, we
knows
can just talk
about,
about
it's listed.
this
The
as
bank
well as
account
having
was in
Trump's family members
2013.
being advisors in the White House.
It was
Yeah, I mean, like Hunter being on the Burisma
2015,
board, that's greasy, but that's like garden variety white collar.
That's
greasy.
vanilla
That's
shit.
not.
That's what people like.
it's
A lot of
normie-
people
that's
cynically
fucking normie
expect.
shit.
I'm not going to do it. Didn't like
But
it.
okay,
Decided not to do it.
2016. I'm
Had
back
an
on it
account
because
open
we already know
and
about
closed
this
it.
shit.
Okay.
Excuse me. And
So the thing
then,
about the
unlike him,
2016
where
election
he's
is that
vice
it was
president
called
and he does
for
business, I then decided to run
for
for
Hillary
president after that.
7
That was
out of
before.
10.
So I
Yeah.
closed it
Now
before
that
I
sounds
even
like it's a
ran for
really
president,
sure thing,
let alone became president.
but
big difference.
you
He is
look at it a
vice
different way.
president of the United
3
States,
out of
and
10,
his son, his
Trump's gonna
brother,
win.
and his other brother
And
are
that sounds a
getting
hell of a
rich.
lot
They're like a vacuum
less
cleaner.
like
They're
it will
sucking
never
up
happen.
every
Trump,
place he
thank you. We
goes.
do need to move on. I do
Okay,
want to
I
ask
see what you're
you,
getting at.
Vice President
So,
Biden,
and that's
about
the
China. Let's talk
thing
about
with
China
with statistics is that they can come back to bite you. Even though one event looks a whole lot more likely than another event, if there's a significant chance of that other event happening, 3 out of 10 is not bad odds. Like there's like people who won't take surgical procedures when there's a 5%, a 1 in 20 chance of failure because they don't want to be that 1 in 20.
Well,
it's
people that like to downplay COVID because, like, it's a fucking 0.2% mortality rate.
Yeah, large numbers. Also, it's not a 2% mortality rate. It's a 5%. Yeah, and it's a full 5%. That's 1 in 20. And those aren't great odds. And unfortunately, with the 2016 election, the way the dice rolled out, fucking Trump took it, and he took it legitimately through the Electoral College.
And what's he do? He embraces guys like
because when it comes to people thinking it's a sure thing and therefore neglecting to vote, you can always count on a Democrat to stay home.
Yeah, I mean, it was also 2016 was a bad storm because that election shows that more people just disliked Hillary Clinton than they did like Donald Trump. This election is panning out to be a referendum on Trump. Most people, Joe Biden's like, whatever.
And I don't like Hillary Clinton, but my biggest complaint about her is that she represents another political dynasty, and I hate that. Ivanka's going to be a senator now. You know that, right? Fucking.
We'll see.
If she doesn't end up in fucking jail, she's going to be a senator.
I know
Ivanka.
Of those 3 kids of the Trump family, Ivanka probably has the best chance of having like a political career from this.
What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going to make them pay.
Especially if Dad goes to jail and she doesn't.
New sanctions? I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from China.
You know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China paid $28 billion.
How are you getting that wrong, Donnie?
And they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry. Okay. And now we have a steel industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
My response is,
dude,
this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family.
That's such a pensy fucking thing to say. I got like 80 older relations that all use the word malarkey.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I use malarkey.
It's fucking Northeast.
Little bit of Joe Biden rubbing off on me here.
I mean, you're fucking Rust Belt.
Who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about. Nice pivot, though,
Joe.
I want
to he's bringing up all of this shit.
Do you want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President? 10 seconds.
Typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about North Korea.
I'm not a typical politician.
Okay,
that's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting.
Actually, weirdly, it is why you got elected.
We're going to talk about
it's also how I know you're a fucking fascist.
You've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've told that they're having a war.
Do you remember when meeting with Kim Jong-un would be the end of America? Do you remember that one? When Obama wanted to fucking do it?
Its nuclear arsenal.
Because it seems like such old news, but I remember like there was big scares like we might lose the West Coast through a nuclear attack in North Korea.
Oh yeah. That hasn't gone away, P.S. It's just their ICBMs aren't any fucking good.
No, I mean.
He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war. And he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war.
Are you bragging?
About 2 months ago.
Well, this is what appeals to a lot of people with him. Like, oh yeah, he's good with these leaders, so there's peace. But this is only effective if he's fucking president for life.
Fucking Pax Romani. Is that what we're going for?
32 million people in Seoul. Millions of people would be dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank you.
relationship.
Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat?
Because I'd make it
I'm often
clear,
curious
make it
because I
clear
want to
to China,
see.
they had to be part of the deal. Because here's I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, "Why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea?" I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're
This is I mean,
I'm not fond of your coded language there, buddy.
this is difficult because it's hard to deal with North Korea within the context of American imperialism right now at the moment.
It's difficult to deal with North Korea within the context of fucking civilized society. They're doing it wrong. Let's not mess around with fucking words. They're doing it wrong.
I get that, but
They tried
Very
to meet
quickly,
with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him.
It-
He wouldn't do it.
we should
He didn't like
save North
Obama.
Korea for a
He
different
didn't
topic.
like
I don't
him.
want
He wouldn't do it.
Okay,
You
I
know,
gotta
for a
give him a
fact, they
chance to
tried.
respond.
because it is
And
complicated.
it's okay. You know
Oh,
what?
yeah,
I
it's
don't
complicated.
expect any of these two people to like
It was a good
explain the
relationship.
dynamics of
You
this
know, people
international
don't
foreign
understand. Having a
policy
good
within like a
relationship
realm of
with
5-minute window to the average American.
To get to.
Not
Your
a-
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe.
No,
The rest
no.
of Europe.
Well, that is not
The
true.
reason we
That is,
would not
FDR was
meet
always
with President
skeptical of
Obama is because
Adolf
President
Hitler.
Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on.
I mean,
Let's
this
move
is
on to
tough
talk about
because
American
the Obama
President
approach
Trump.
failed.
Okay, we do need
This
to
is
move
tough
on.
for Joe.
North Korea was a mess.
We
And in
need to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to
2
all
or
of
3
other
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things
Hit
out
the
a
mute
little bit.
button.
There was a they left us a mess, and Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the
Make it
center
public.
of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual
I guess I
mandate
didn't
where you
save
have to
it,
pay a
but
fortune
I
He
for
think in
didn't
the
do that through
committee,
the
I think it was-
legislature. He didn't do that through the legislature. He did that through the courts. What we're
Now
actually
it's in
looking at
court
now is whether or
because
not it's
Obamacare is
actually
no good.
legitimately
But then I made
separable.
a decision.
The,
Run
Well,
it as well
now
as
it
you
seems
can
like a new
for my
deal
people, great
because
people.
this was all
Run it
planned.
as
This
well
is
as
why
you
the
can. I
individual
could've gone the
mandate
other
was
route and
the
made
repeal
everybody
of it
very
was
unhappy.
included in the
They
2017
ran it.
tax cuts.
Premiums
Because
are
now
down,
it's like
everything's
they're looking
down.
at
Here's
this
the
bill like
problem.
it's a whole
No matter
new
how
deal
well
now
you
because
run
now
it,
there's
it's
no
no good.
individual
What
mandate.
we'd like
So
to do
let's look
is
at this again and get a
terminate
challenge in
it.
the courts
We
like
have
it did
the
in like
individual mandate
2012.
I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't
think that was the
win,
year. I
we
can't
will
remember.
have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate,
See?
it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a
That's
much
not
better
true,
This
buddy.
is such a conniving effort.
You
because,
can't
like,
you can't do it
and this
like
is
that.
bad. He really
So
needs
I'd
to
like
stop
to
talking about
terminate
this. Healthcare is
Obamacare,
like
come
a
up with
major
brand
issue for
new,
American
beautiful
voters.
healthcare.
Like he's
The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House.
it's a touchy touchy subject because, like, yeah, people are worried about losing their health care, but they also have a problem with the premiums that they pay right now. Like, it's, like, of course, our answer would be Medicare for all, but of course, you know, none of these two bozos want to fucking even fantasize about that idea.
Than we're talking about with Obamacare.
So
Joe
fucking done
Biden is
with
going
that.
to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care.
You know, he's going to talk about this, and Joe Biden's response is going to be, look, we're going to expand it with Obamacare. We're going to include the public option. You know, in terms of material value, that depends on how low the premiums are going to be for a lot of the Americans.
Basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 100.
He's laughing at socialized medicine.
This is the benefit with Joe Biden because he's clearly not the socialist. They keep trying to throw the socialist sticker.
Not a socialist.
They keep throwing the socialist tag on him, and it just keeps falling off.
Yeah, he can't. He's not going to wear that.
If the law is ruled unconstitutional by the
Bullshit.
Supreme Court, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure.
Here's a follow-up question. How low will the premiums be? That's really important. Because what people are paying right now are the grievances that most Americans have.
To negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance. The reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I didn't.
So did all the other but one candidate.
Two.
Wait, who else? Who else had Medicare for all?
Didn't Warren stand up behind Medicare for all for a while?
You know what? I totally forgot about Warren. I can't remember her plan. Actually. I think it was Medicare for all.
She was like just to the right of Bernie.
I think Warren was like trying to be that middle ground between the people of Sanders and everybody else on the Democratic candidates running.
She would have been a great fucking candidate.
Pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20.
What she ended up being was a spoiler for Bernie, sadly.
The fact is,
I feel like a lot of Warren supporters were more like sophisticated upper middle class, like educated people, and looking at the primaries and caucuses, like they weren't a big number. I guess Warren didn't have the same appeal with like working class people like Bernie did. And I guess, you know, especially on Super Tuesday, I think like she was a spoiler. She purposely stuck around to siphon off votes from Bernie.
It relates to something that
Still kind of salty about that.
I can't even. It's been a decade since the fucking primaries earlier this year.
I know. It seems like ancient history.
One step closer to a healthcare system run entirely by the government.
I say it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, you know,
and this is a problem for Joe because these questions are putting him in a corner because like there are people that want Medicare for all, and like what happens if we have Democrat control of Congress and an initiative is passed? Is he going to reject it?
And I am very proud of my plan.
And then of course this is going to be used by the right as a talking point. Like Joe Biden said that he's not going to have government controlled health care. Look at what he's doing now.
This is something that's going to save people.
Like I feel like the Democrats are like setting themselves up for failure.
An opportunity to have health care for their children.
This is what splitting the hair gives you.
This is why it's so hard for me to like, you know, this is why like when I hear people like saying I'm not voting for Joe Biden, it's like it's really hard to make convincing arguments.
An affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
he was there for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now
he's one fucking senator for 47 years.
5 years ago, it was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right?
No, he's done a lot though.
He's been in Congress.
He didn't do anything.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even
Well,
more.
that's
Bernie
not
Sanders
true.
wants it.
That's just not true. Yo, dog.
Socialized medicine. Just like
I mean, okay, you know what? Yeah,
Kamala Harris is
she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders is like
leftist than
baby's first
Kamala.
socialist.
And he says, oh,
I mean, if you
we're
look
gonna
at
track it.
Kamala's record, it
And you
is
never asked that
pretty
question.
liberal.
And by the way, so far,
But-
I respect very much the way
Yeah.
you're handling this.
I think
have to
this
say.
is just a matter of
Somebody should
semantics
ask
that
the
Trump's
question.
playing at here.
He goes for a year. There will be
We
no
have
fracking. There
we
will
do
be
have
no
a number of
petroleum.
we have a number of topics
No,
we're
no,
going
but
to get
that's a
to.
big- that's a big question.
We're going to get to
It's the same thing with socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period.
People should
period.
have health care.
And the
Whether or not it
Obamacare
should be
proposal, in
affordable
fact, to
is
provide for that affordable
beating
health
around the
care,
bush.
lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to
You
cost
know,
over
no, I don't even know that it
$750
is.
over 10 years to do it.
I
And
think
we're
it's
gonna make
absolutely
lower
at the heart of
premiums,
it, because the
combine
thing
better
that's keeping
plans,
people
the
from
cheaper
having
plans,
health care is
lower
the money.
premiums, deal with unexpected
Well,
billing.
it's
and
like
having
it's a
your
word game
drug
being
prices
paid,
drop
because you always hear like who's
significantly.
going to
He
pay
keeps
for it.
talking
Well,
about it. He hasn't done a thing
it's going to
for
be
us,
paid through
jackass.
contributions to tax it, like every other Western
Talking
democracy.
about socialized medicine, and when he and healthcare, when he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare. Totally destroyed, and destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie
this is
Sanders.
You're gonna
Boy.
turn me into a fucking tanky, dude. I
He
swear to
tried it.
God.
His governor
boy.
was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay.
Just keep in mind for people
been
who are
running-
watching, Trump's
Biden.
budget cuts
Confused guy.
include
He
cuts
thinks
to
he's
Social
running against
Security,
somebody
so
else.
just keep that
He's
in
running
mind.
against
Enormous
Joe
cuts to
Biden.
Social Security,
I beat
whereas
all those other
Biden's
people because I
include funding
disagreed
some
with
of it
them.
back by
Joe
taxing
Biden
the
he's
rich
running
more.
against. And the
Not even the
idea
super
that we're in a
rich isn't
situation
even where
where
it
we're gonna
starts. You
destroy
start at
Medicare.
400 grand a
$400,000.
year.
Guy that the actuary
And
at
that's,
Medicare said,
which, to be fair, you're a millionaire in 3 years if you're doing that. That's
You're doing
getting
good.
there.
You're doing good if you're
tax on
making
Social
half of
Security.
400
Social
grand.
Security will be
Oh, hell yeah.
bankrupt
Hell yeah.
by 2023 with no way to make up.
God, we
for
haven't
it.
even gotten
This
to
is
the
guy
climate
who's
change
tried to
yet.
cut
Oh, jeez.
Medicare. So
Oh, please,
I don't- I mean,
please,
the idea
Joe,
that Donald Trump
please, just
is left
lean into the mic and say,
Medicare? Come on.
pass.
He tried to get
10
rid of.
seconds,
He
Mr.
tried to
President,
hurt
and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago, go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All
One
right,
thing-
let's move
but
The
on.
sad thing is, like, if people actually did go
You know,
back and look
Bernie
at the
Bernie
records,
tried this ploy in the
If I'm
primaries.
elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
Biggest
move on to the
analysts are
next
saying that.
question very quickly.
Look,
no,
the idea that
no,
the
as
stock market
Biden
is
victory
booming is his
looms,
only
stock
measure of
markets
what's
are starting to
happening.
recover.
Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the
I don't know,
Because they
I-
can't count on you for shit.
I was looking at my stocks
Just in
right
the
now
last
recently. They're
three,
doing okay.
3 years during
You
this
have
crisis.
stocks?
I do.
Fucking
the
Clash
billionaire this
Trader.
country made, according to-
No, it's cool. I'm about to go in on a
Well,
small business.
To
with a
be
bunch
fair,
of
I
people.
will disclose a lot of them are in the cannabis industry.
Because
So
that's his
Hey.
What happens to the ordinary people?
I don't
out
know.
there? What happens to them?
Let's talk
Petite bourgeoisie motherfucker. Look at you.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like one of the, he lived there for a short period
gonna-
of time before
okay,
he even knew
we're
it.
gonna move on
and
to
he
the
left.
next
And
question.
the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of
Oh, he's
tonight,
calling
more
out
than 12
Pennsylvania.
million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty.
As a
and more
person from
families are going
Pennsylvania,
hungry
you can
every
suck
day.
my
Those
dick,
hit hardest
Donnie.
are women and people of color.
Fuck.
They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy
That's a
Pelosi
pretty
doesn't want to
bold
approve
fucking
anything.
Yeah, this
because
is
she'd
pretty
love to
bold,
have
dude.
GOP projections
on a
are
date
like
called November
they've already
3rd.
abandoned. I
Nancy
actually think they're going
Pelosi
to lose
does
more
not want
seats
to
in the
approve it.
House.
We are ready, willing,
They're
and
gonna
able to
lose.
do
They're gonna
something.
lose the
Don't forget,
House,
we've
and they're
already approved 3 plans.
they have a pretty
It's gone
good
through,
chance of
including
losing the
Democrats,
Senate.
In all fairness, this one she
I
doesn't.
mean,
want to
idealistically,
re-election
I was looking
because
at
she
it,
thinks
I think,
helps her
like-
politically. I think it hurts.
It's
her.
a six,
best-
it's
best
60-40.
Yeah, best case
60-40 in favor of Dems.
Best
They-
case
they
scenario, I think the
can't.
Senate, the new Senate
He
makeup
will
in
not be able to
2021 will be
pass it.
like
He does not have Republican
53
votes. Why are he
Democrats
talking to his
and
Republican friends?
Let me follow up with you, Vice President.
we made it
Because
47
let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party.
Oh,
Why
they-
have
do you know?
not
Do
pushed
you know
the
what our
Democrats to get a
Republican-controlled
deal for the
Senate is
American
now?
people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look,
52.
they passed this
Yeah, I mean, it's
all
gonna
the
be
way
flipped
back in the
because
beginning of the summer.
Republicans have to. The Republicans are in like were like the Democrats in 2018. They had to defend more Senate seats than they had the chance to like flip it.
The Recovery Act with $800 billion. I was able to get
with the main ones that are Colorado, Michigan. I think there's Iowa, North Carolina, even Georgia. I'm not sorry, not Georgia, South Carolina. Well, there is a Georgia special election which has a good chance, but there's also South Carolina. Even Lindsey Graham is vulnerable to being flipped.
They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with these guys?
The bill that was passed in the House was...
As much as I would love Mitch McConnell to lose his seat, I don't think he's going to lose to Amy McGrath.
No, Amy's, she had a strong showing for a hot minute and she lost it.
Yeah, Amy is really nothing inspiring.
It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people...
Which is a lost opportunity because Charles Booker was running against her, and I feel like he was a really good candidate.
Now, hold on. Donnie just made a bold claim that the HEROES Act was going to get money out.
This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout.
Let them go bankrupt. Come on.
Okay, yeah. Take it from here. This is important.
Was a bailout of badly run, high crime.
Oh yeah, this is why they stonewalled it, because they didn't want it.
But wait.
It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these kids. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take
literally impossible.
What, sanctuary cities? Is this a sanctuary city spin? Like
everybody all over the world will start pouring into
yeah,
our country.
that's what I wanted to call out, because it's literally impossible for a relief bill that Congress can appropriate to municipalities. They don't. People who are here illegally don't have social security numbers. They can't apply for benefits, Donnie. Everybody else knows this. Actually, I shouldn't say everybody else knows that, because apparently about 40% of America doesn't know this.
And folks, every single
About 40% of America forgets Puerto Rico's fucking America too. So I don't know what I expect.
I'm gonna put a pin in Puerto Rico because I want to talk about if the Democrats win the presidency and Congress.
Allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
Puerto Rican statehood.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're also looking at
DC and Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to see all of them get statehood. Throw fucking Guam and American Samoa in there too. If we're gonna just do it, just fucking incorporate all of them, give them all senators, make it happen. If they're gonna be American territories, let them at least be fucking Americans. Stop it with this fucking brown people bad shit.
They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. It's not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly,
want
he
to
said
get
we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state.
If you
is
give
different.
these
It should be
states
a state
to
option.
adopt their own minimum wage, the minimum wage will be like $2.50 an hour.
Some of them, some of those states, yeah, it'll actually be $2.50 an hour. Some of them, you'll get minimum wages of $25.
I mean, California, I think, has the highest minimum wage.
You said very recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Is that still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really like,
administration?
in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option.
No, dude, that's the thing you just said. Though that's the thing you just said.
That's
the
not an
thing.
answer.
$15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruined.
Trump, thank you. Quick response.
Just say $15 now. It needs to be raised. Like,
One
this
job.
is,
Be below poverty.
we have to
People are making
we have to
$6,
have this
$7,
talk
$8 an
every
hour.
once in a
These
while
first
because
responders we all clap
wages
for as
never
they come down the street
go
because they've allowed
rise,
us to make
you know,
it.
never
What's
account for the
happening?
rising cost
They
of living.
deserve
This
a
is why we have to have this
minimum
talk
wage of
every time. We have to drag
$15.
people kicking
Anything
and
below
screaming
that
to get
puts
the
you
minimum
below
raise
the
raised.
poverty level.
In
And
fact,
there is no
$15 an
evidence that
hour
when
doesn't
you
even
raise the
fucking do
minimum
it.
That's
wage,
lowball, too.
businesses go out
Yeah,
of
it's
business.
lowball.
That
That'll
is
get
simply
most
not
of the
true.
bottom rung
immigration.
states.
We're gonna talk
That
about
doesn't get
immigration now,
Pennsylvania. It doesn't
gentlemen.
get Ohio. It
And we're
doesn't
gonna
get
talk
New
about
York. It
families
doesn't get
in this
California.
context.
It
Mr.
doesn't get
President, your
Florida.
administration
It doesn't get
separated children
Michigan.
from their parents at the
It
border.
doesn't get
4,000 kids.
New
You've
England.
since reversed your
There's
zero tolerance
a lot of
policy, but the
places where
United States
$15
can't
an hour
locate the
is
parents of
not
more than
enough
500 children.
to
So how will these families ever
live.
be reunited?
Children are brought here
Unless you're using a community food
coyotes
kitchen,
and
which,
lots
speaking of
bad
that,
people,
donate to your local mutual
cartels,
aid network.
and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall.
Yeah, folks, I just
You
want to
see the
remind
numbers,
everybody
and we
that there
let
are
people
people
in,
in
but they have to
concentration
come
camps
in
right now under
legally,
this
and they come in through.
administration.
But how will you
Yeah,
reunite those
yeah, we
families
got the
with their families?
concentration camp
Mr.
thing
President?
They
going.
built cages. You know, they used to
This-
say, I built the cages.
Things are
and
not
then they had a
great.
picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages, and they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them, and then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over
Are
through
you?
cartels and through coyotes and through
Are you
gangs.
really?
This has been a
Vice
bad
President Biden, let me
stain.
bring
Like
you
this,
into
this
this
is not
conversation.
panned
Quick
out well.
response and then another
No, you
response.
can't. You're not doing it. In fact, there's
A
hundreds
lot
of kids
of
missing.
people are
They
ruled like these
separated
kids will
them
never
at the
be
border
reunited with their parents.
to make it a disincentive to come.
Hundreds,
Big, real tough,
thousands
really
even.
strong.
By
And
the
guess what?
by the time we're done, I'm sure it will be
It's not coyotes
thousands.
didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
All right, he's
Let
coming
me
out
ask you a
strong here.
follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
They
to
No.
that?
did it. We changed.
did not
They built the
separate
cages.
they-
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I
about
will say this.
immigration.
They went
10
down. We
seconds, and
brought
then I need to ask
reporters,
you.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in.
Oh my god!
Dude. One question. Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built
Just
the
a reminder:
cages?
there were court hearings about whether or not this administration should supply these kids with fucking
doesn't-
toothpaste and toothbrushes. So
During the administration.
proper
It also
sanitation and
presided over
cleaning.
record deportations
Yeah.
as well as
Nah,
family
they
detentions
shouldn't have
that
fucking come
were
here illegally.
in course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
Because we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear. Within 100 days, I'm going to send to the
I
United
like,
States
you know, he
Congress
said
a
some words
pathway
there
to
that are very
citizenship for
important.
over 11
We made a
million
mistake.
undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea
Yeah,
that
fuck a border.
they're being sent home by this guy and they want to do that is they're going to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking
Freedom
you
of movement
across
is a basic
the
human right.
the
Fuck a border.
river and it's illegal. And you say, oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you. They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
President
Kristen,
Trump,
he
your
had
reaction.
8 years to do what he said he was going to do.
See,
And
this
I've
is
changed
double. This
without
is
having
this
a specific.
this is
we
muddying the
got
waters
rid of
again
catch and
because they
release.
couldn't
We got
get
rid of
comprehensive
a lot of
immigration
horrible
reform
things that
because
they
the
put in.
Republicans
The
at the
Republicans
time in the
control the
House.
Senate and the House, and he can't fucking do it. They wouldn't let him.
I mean, this is why DACA
cages
was started to
keep
begin with
children
because
Vice
they
President
tried the
Biden, your
legislative
response.
route
The
and
catch
it
and
got
release, you know what he's
stonewalled.
talking about there?
This is straight out of the
If in fact
Republican
you
playbook. I
had
said it the
family
last time we were
came
here
across-
I mean, this
watching
is
the
what
vice
pisses-
presidential debate. You
They, in fact,
break
were
the
given a
government
date
and
to
then
show
use
up
that
for the
broken
hearing.
government so
They
that
were
later you can
released.
point and
guess
say,
what? They
see,
showed up
government's
for a
broken.
hearing.
Well, this is, I want to add to that. Like, this Republican idea of holding this, the stonewalling stuff plays to their hands because, there's a lot of normies and enlightened centrists that look at this and like, why can't you guys just get along, just find a solution and compromise? When they're oblivious to the fact that it's the Republicans that are like not budging on anything because they're so rigorous in their fucking principles.
So important.
In fact, no, I disagree. I don't think the Republicans are rigorous in their principles. I think that the only principle they're rigorous about is being the ones to win.
Well, that's what I mean, and getting winning and getting their stuff done is what I'm talking about.
We have to release them into our country.
Shit, we've got another hour of this.
Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they don't come back, Joe. They never come
That was for Joe Biden and all of the other grandparents in the audience.
Mason. For all the old, he needs to win back some old people because they're pissed off at him.
A chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the next section. Vice President Biden, your response.
No, the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it because they terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Let's move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about our next section, which is race
Pause
in America.
that.
And I want to talk about the way
All right, what's up?
I don't think Trump realized what he just said, and I don't think most people did, but it'll come up later. Did you hear that? You've got 525 kids who've lost their parents and don't know where they're going to be.
And Trump was just like, yeah, whatever.
And Trump says, good.
Did he say good?
He said, good.
Hold on, I got it.
But those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay, President Trump, let's give Vice President Biden a chance to
Okay.
respond, and then we're going to move on to the
some
next
racist
Don't know the law,
section.
Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
No, the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move on.
But we don't have to worry about it because they terminated it, so we don't have to worry about it.
Let's
anymore.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right.
He said,
Let's
go
talk
ahead.
He said,
our
go
next
ahead. I
section,
swore he
which is
said good.
race in America.
Okay,
And
I
wanna
was
talk
wrong about that
the way
one.
Black and
So
brown
that,
Americans experience race in this
Couldn't put it
country.
past him. Good.
Part of that
Damn it. No, I
experience is
couldn't put it
something
past him.
called the talk. It happens regardless of class and income. Parents who feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police, for no reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next
This
2
should be
minutes, I
interesting.
want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. My daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child, when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street. Making sure that you, in fact, if you get pulled over, yes, sir, no, sir, hands on top of the wheel, because you are, in fact, the victim, whether you're a person making child of a $300,000 a year person or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said,
well, thank you for saying it. I appreciate that.
Now,
fucking fix it.
Well, what I hope now, if he does win, I hope for very comprehensive criminal justice reform. So
this is the first president to come along and
keep
say
an eye on that for people.
We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would
That's-
like you to speak
I love
directly
black
to
people.
these families.
Black
Do
people
you
are great.
understand why these parents
Now,
fear
hold on a
I'm the
sec,
greatest
because-
president for African Americans since Abraham Lincoln.
He's been in
Because
government
Joe
47
Biden
years.
just
He
paid
never did
lip
a thing
service
except in
to
1994 when he did
dismantling
such
white
harm
supremacy
to
in
the
a
black
very
community.
real
And
way.
they were called, and he called them super predators.
Oh, you
and he
eat
said
94
that.
bill.
He said it, super
right.
predators. And they have never lived that down. 1994, your crime bill, the super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception,
Called it.
Yeah, nobody has
Abraham Lincoln,
put
possible
more
exception, but the exception
boot
of
prints
Abraham
in the
Lincoln,
backs of black
nobody has
Americans
done
than Donald
what
Trump.
I've done. Criminal justice
Oh, wait,
reform.
that's a
Oh, he
fucking
said
lie.
that. I'm sorry. He said
And
with the exception
Joe
of Abraham
didn't do
Lincoln.
it.
He didn't say that
I
he
don't
was
even
better than
think they
Abraham
tried
Lincoln
because
with
they
black
had no
people.
chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture. And everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it.
Wait a second.
Tremendous investment.
What's an opportunity
Biggest
zone?
beneficiary
Because that
to
sounds
black
like a
and Hispanic
rebranding
communities.
ghetto. Like, I'm not. Am I crazy?
Black
Am I crazy for thinking that?
colleges and
Well, it
universities.
seems like opportunity
After 3
zones
years
seems
of
like the
coming to
current
office, I love some
gentrification
those
of
guys.
many
They were
urban
great. They
areas.
came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that, Vice
My
President.
response to that is I never, ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is a guy who said the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of what the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people sentences.
Give me a little while, I'll get
We
one.
commuted over 1,000 people sentences. Over 1,000. The very law
Oh,
he's
she's
talking
home.
about
She's
is a law that,
downstairs.
in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly,
And
we're in a
probably,
situation
I guess.
here where
Shoot.
the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no minimum mandatories in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally
Bring up
change
the
the system. and
criminalization
that's
of
what I'm
marijuana,
going to
Joe.
do.
But why
Close
didn't
it.
he do
Oh,
it
should
4
close
years
with that.
ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you do it? You were vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me because what's happening here is you know who I am. You know who he is. You know his character. You know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
Right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Throwing dust in the air.
President Trump, I want to
Muddying the waters. Make him as dirty as you are.
From hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody.
talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I
you've
have to respond to that.
Please,
Because look,
very
there
quickly.
are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And
You
that's
got it.
exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This
was
is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Yes.
Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President,
believe
you've
that one.
described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first.
Or maybe they
glimpse of
wanted
Black
to fry
Lives
some
Matter.
pigs in
I
a
thought it
blanket,
was
like
a terrible thing.
the actual eat 'em.
As far as my relationship.
When did he hear this?
All people. I think I have great
You know-
relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Oh
What
my
do you say to
God.
Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't
by
know.
the-
I mean, I
the
don't know
videos?
what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay, Vice President Biden, let me ask
Just remind her
you
that
very
Donald
quickly, and
Trump's
then I have a
father
follow-up
was
question
caught
for you.
attending
Abraham
Klan
Lincoln
rallies.
here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys. Last time we were on stage here, he said, "I told them to stand
The poor
down
boy. You mean the
and
Proud
stand
Boys?
up." Come on. This guy is a dog.
I mean,
whistle,
you know,
big as a foghorn.
it's like, he just really needs a sandwich, I guess.
You made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
where did that? No.
You said-
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've
Yeah,
done for the
he
black
did
community.
actually
I
say
didn't
that.
say I'm Abraham
I
Lincoln.
mean-
I said not since
Joey.
Abraham Lincoln has anybody
Joey.
done what I've
Joey,
done for
stop.
the black community.
Stop, Joe.
No, you have done nothing other than the crime bill, which put
Oh, God.
men mostly in jail.
I can't, oh.
They remember it
Vice
because if
President
you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting
God, it's
right
like
now,
arguing on
They
Facebook with
remember
the
Biden.
biggest
treated them
piece of shit
about
right
very
winger.
badly. Just take a look at what's happening.
That's my
in-
reaction. Oh,
He is
God.
literally,
Oh,
he
God.
is literally the biggest piece
I
of
could
shit right winger.
respond, but maybe I should just walk away.
Contributed to the incarceration of tens of thousands of young black men who had small amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the sense, and particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure
You heard it
drug
here
offense.
first, folks.
They
Joe
should be
Biden is
going
pro-cocaine.
into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on.
Trump's
That's
new
why I
nickname's
set
gonna
up
be
drug
for
courts, which are
Cocaine
never
Joe.
funded by our Republican friends. They should
Joe
not
Kane.
be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going.
Although I'll tell you what, he
treatment.
probably just got Trump's vote.
That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think maybe
Wait.
the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime
Yeah,
bill.
war on drugs is a
Why
bad
didn't
fucking
he get
idea.
it done? See,
Besides,
it's all
drugs
talk,
won.
No action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do.
I want to
become
congratulate
president. You were
drugs
vice
for winning the
president
war
along
on
with
drugs.
Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a
Your
lot of it
response.
done. We released
didn't get
38,000. We
anything
got
done.
38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I
With
just
response,
asked,
and then we're
I
gonna
just
move
asked
on
one
to climate
question.
change.
Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this.
Because
You
Congress
put
was
tens of
red, you
thousands of
jackass.
mostly
Well,
black young
most
men
normies are going to
in
lose
prison.
that.
Now you're
This is
saying
the
you're
problem.
gonna
This is
get-
what I
you're
hate
gonna
about
undo
like
that.
these
Why
the
didn't you
structure
get
of these
that?
debates
The
because
memory's so
presidents
fucking
don't
thin.
presidents
Because you're
don't
all
make the
talk
laws.
and no action.
All right,
That's
Vice President
Congress's
Biden, and
job.
then we're going to move on to the next
I
section.
mean, they
Yeah,
can make
Republican
laws, but those
Congress.
laws are only necessarily effective for the course of their administration.
I mean,
That's what an
besides
executive order
besides
is.
the apparatus of executive orders, I
All
mean,
right.
like
You gotta talk
that's
them into
where
it.
they're
We're going to
limited
move on
at.
to our next
Which,
section.
frankly, we ought to get rid of the fucking executive orders too. I mean, or severely limit their scope, because that's not. We're not supposed to have an autocracy.
President Trump, you say that environmental regulations have hurt jobs. In
Hey,
the
remember
energy
when
sector.
Obama said he'd
Vice
get rid of
President
that?
Biden,
You remember
have
that?
said you
That
see
was fun.
addressing climate change.
It was a
as an
fun 5 minutes when I
opportunity
believed he
to
was
create
gonna,
new jobs. For
you
each
know,
of
gut
you,
the system
how
from
would
the
you both
inside.
combat climate change and
God, I'm so
support
jaded.
job growth at the same time, starting
Well, you know,
with
it's only going to be
President Trump. You
exacerbated
have 2
because
minutes
like there
uninterrupted.
needs to be
So we have the
very
Trillion Trees
huge
program.
structural
We have
reform
so
in
many
our
different
electoral
programs. I
process.
do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the
Oh my God,
best
are we finally on the
lowest number
environment?
in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that
Should've
I
got
notice
myself another
Obama
beer.
goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term.
I'm not even drinking beer. If I'd known you were drinking beer, I'd be drinking something a little harder.
And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this.
Yeah, because everybody's stuck at home because people are sick and dying, you piece of shit.
Here's what we can't do.
God.
Look at China.
I just
how
get
filthy it is.
angrier and louder.
Look
Now
at
I know why my
Russia.
wife was so annoyed
Look
with
at
me the
India.
last time I did this.
It's
I just get
filthy.
angrier and louder the longer that
air
it goes
is
on.
filthy.
It all makes
The
sense now.
Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend
It's bad for my blood
trillions
pressure.
of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible
Sorry, you can't have a
job.
clean
No.
environment. It's not good for
We have the
business.
cleanest air,
No
the cleanest water,
economist
and the best
agrees with
carbon
you
emission
on the
standards
face
that we've
of this
seen in many, many
fucking
years.
planet.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you.
Have you not?
Change and climate warming.
Have you already forgotten the trade war?
Threat to humanity. We have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told
There's a
by
reason
all
you don't
leading
hear about the
scientists
trade
in the
war
world
anymore. They
we
lost.
don't have
They threw in the
much
fucking
time.
towel. All those
We're
tariffs are
gonna pass
fucking
the point of
gone.
no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit limited emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highways so that we can own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving
This is the
hundreds
tiny
of
windows
millions of
that Trump was
barrels
talking
of
about
oil
in his
the
fucking
process, and creating
fever
significant
interview with
jobs.
Hannity.
And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will, in fact, create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump,
They came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC +3. They know nothing about the climate. I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she knows nothing about the climate, and they're all hopping through hoops.
All this talk, I feel like this is distant future, but AOC may have a chance for presidency.
Yeah, I reckon she's got a chance if Biden kicks it. I reckon she's got a chance in 2028. 2024, she certainly has a chance, maybe 2028.
Well, she'll be old enough.
Oh, she'll be old enough 2024.
Will she?
Yeah.
I thought she was only 30.
She's 33.
Oh, she's 33, okay.
So she'll be 35.
Anybody, frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. They want to spend $100.
Of course, she's going to have to run against me because I'll be 36. Wait, hold on. 2024.
They want to knock down buildings,
I'll be 38.
build new buildings with little tiny.
I'll be 36 in 2024.
And many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice
It
President.
will destroy fucking. If I hear you say those words one more goddamn time, like you actually give a fuck.
Give me a break. This plan is endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group. Because they know the future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know
the future lies in us not being a fucking fascist dictatorship. That's why you got labor on board, dude.
Is the electric.
It's going to be interesting how many leftists that are supporting Joe Biden right now are going to change their mood should he win the presidency.
Oh, they're gonna turn right around and start criticizing him dead to his face. And
well,
I
as they
do
should.
a lot of it because he's not, you know,
President Trump, please respond, and then I have some
Jesus on a white horse.
For the first time. We don't need all of
He's not even Marx on a red horse.
Because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know
That would be
more
better
about
than
wind
Jesus.
you do. It's extremely expensive.
Tall order there.
It kills all the birds. It's very intermittent. It's got a lot of problems. And they have
Papa Carl showing up, handing out copies of the manifesto, riding around the country on a red horse. You don't think that'd be awesome?
Fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Oh, God.
Solar. I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not
Yes, it
powerful
does.
yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need to compete
Yes, it
with the world.
does. It does.
It's all a
Isn't Germany right now the most solar efficient industry right now at the moment?
Yeah. Solar is currently the cheapest per kilowatt hour in the world. It is the cheapest form of power that you can get.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is he's flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer we need We need other industries.
Joe, fracking is bad.
To get to
Joe, do you know how bad it is? Do you know how much cancer? You better get us Medicare for all, because fucking everybody's gonna need chemo in a hot minute.
I'll take Medicare for all if you have to keep fracking. That's centrism right there. That's meeting in the center.
He was against fracking. He said it. I will show that to you tomorrow. I am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking or oil on
Oh, you mean
Let me ask this final question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick. Your administration has rolled back regulations on these kinds of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they are making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic. Okay. We saved it.
But why are they concerned about their health? Because you rolled back regulations.
Mexico and Russia to cut back
Dude,
back. We saved our oil.
They're not talking about not getting paid. They're talking about
their health.
Dying. Like,
we're going to have a final question.
dying.
My response is
People
that
are
those live on
dying.
fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute. Chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And there are more oil refineries in Marcus Hook and the Delaware River than there is any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turning the windshield over, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them. It matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final question.
Would he close down the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
A big statement.
It is a big statement.
That is a big statement. We do have to get off the oil.
The oil industry pollutes.
We will die.
I mean, Joe, I understand. I'm disappointed that you want to keep fracking, but I'm at least glad that you're trying to get us off oil.
Hydraulic fracturing is one of the methods by which we harvest oil shales.
I'd stop giving them federal subsidies.
So does he want to get rid of fracking?
Mostly it's used for natural gas these days.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a difference between like oil and natural gas petroleum, right?
No.
No?
No. Natural gas is its own fuel source. It is like methane and propane and all of those.
But that's what petroleum is, right?
No, petroleum is black mud.
Takes everything out of context, but the point is,
it's a more different fossil fuel.
So it's more in line with oil.
It does exactly the same thing. Like, we thought that it was more efficient for the kilowatt hours you could get out of it than coal was. We were wrong. You can't. But now there's a huge industry around it, and people were promised numbers, so it's going to keep going.
This is about leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, etc. But I will tell you, go back. before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President
Chaos and
Biden,
disorder.
same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow.
I think Trump realized that question was like, what were you going to say in your inaugural address? And he was just like listing off a bunch of stuff. Like, you picture him like having he won re-election. He's just standing at the podium.
If you vote for Joe Biden, as he's
I had people
inaugurated,
call me that we had the greatest numbers. We had the greatest numbers before the pandemic.
What is on the ballot here is the character of this country. Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont
Oh, I was
University
wrong. It
for
was only an hour and a
hosting us
half.
tonight.
Thank
And most
fucking God.
importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
brought to you by
There you
Pepsi.
have it, second and final debate of this 2020 election.
All right. Well,
Parting thoughts.
I don't know. This is tough for me.
This is such a fucking shit show. Like I don't know. I don't know what to say or do right now about this situation.
Have you voted yet? Or?
I haven't. I'm just gonna go on election day because I have a small district. It's literally right there. My polling place is right there. I could spit and almost hit it.
I voted this Tuesday. I'm sorry, this Monday. So the process. I was nervous. I thought it was going to be a long way, but it was just the traffic sucked. But it turned out to be about a 2-hour process. And that was just finding parking. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to get my vote in.
Well, like I said, it's for me. I will probably take my little girl to school, and then I will go right over to the polls, and I will go do it. And I will proudly, as the only goddamn tran in town, I'm gonna go cast my vote. I don't know what I'm gonna see there, to be honest, because didn't in Florida this just happened. Florida, 2 armed gunmen showed up at a ballot drop off saying that they were with the Trump campaign.
I didn't hear about this. So
it just happened today. 2 gunmen show up at a polling place in Florida claiming to be with the Trump campaign. They were not with the Trump campaign. The whole thing was they were there with fucking guns watching the polls closely, as Donnie prescribed.
They're trying to be poll watchers?
Yeah, they're trying to be fucking poll watchers. Fucking paramilitary activity at your local polling place. I'm going to just go fucking do it regardless. Your ass is gonna have to shoot me. I'm gonna fuck.
Wait a second. Trump supporters. Wait, let me see. I just want to see it. Oh shit! So St. Petersburg, Florida. Okay, armed Trump supporters. Oh shit! Damn. 2 armed Trump supporters. This is from the Washington Post. Sorry, I can't talk. 2 armed Trump supporters whose appearance near a Florida polling place on Wednesday. So yesterday. So have concerns of voter intimidation. Okay. The pair still in uniform after a day of work. Join fellow support. Oh, okay. Wow. Damn. I mean,
Yeah.
Seen this coming.
Yep. He specifically asked for it. Of course you saw it coming. Everybody did.
I mean, so let's say it's November 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the initial results are going to be?
Well, the good news is a lot of the early votes are going to be, very blue. So whether there's...
Are you just talking your state?
Two possibilities.
Are you just talking your state or just in general, the other states?
In general, I'm pretty sure, because like high voter turnout is the Republicans' worst enemy.
That is true.
And right now...
what was it? 47 million people already early voted?
Yeah, so. 47 million people have already voted. Weren't you the one that told me Texas?
Texas. This is just specifically for Texas, but more people have already early voted in Texas than voted for Donald Trump in 2016. So
yeah. So we're looking at some pretty serious shit. We're looking at the possibility of Texas turning blue, which would be fucking amazing.
They've been talking about, they talked about this in 2018, the midterms. Texas is on its way to being the new swing state. And that's big because
really big.
They have, 34 electoral votes? So
yeah, they're big cheese.
I've had good news and cynical news about, what are the new swing states? Because now it's like Texas, even Georgia is starting to look more like a swing. Not there yet, but within the realms. Now, the turnoff is, unfortunately, states like my state, Ohio, seems to be trending more red, which is unfortunate, and Iowa. But again, if you look at that, I don't know how close Texas is there. This is a very different election than all the others. I know that seems to be pretty, colloquial, fucking, it's said all the time. This election is different from all the others, but like it really is, because like this election seems to be more about a referendum on Trump, on one president that's currently in office, as opposed to voting for the other guy. So,
yeah,
I do see, though, in the future, I'm actually, because I worked at the census, I actually feel like Texas is actually going to gain more electoral votes now. Also, like they're going to go from 34 to 35. So that's going to be a big play for both parties, two major parties, should Texas be more swinging. And I think that's just because there's just a younger generation, the demographics, particularly of minorities, is growing. It's just not the same anymore. Other states, Arizona, like the Sun Belt, basically. I feel like you were saying earlier there's a big dynamic shift happening. And
yeah, it's one of those things that was mentioned in civics the last time I took it, which was granted a long time ago. But political realignments seem to happen pretty regularly on like a 40-year cycle in the United States, where the issues that define what each party stands for shift significantly from one phase to another. And that didn't seem to happen in the 80s when it should have. So here we are 40 years after that. We have been waiting for one for some time. And this looks like it might be the one, because what's really on the ballot here, I don't even necessarily see this as necessarily a referendum on Trump in and of himself, because it's not just Donald Trump. It's the whole apparatus that exists in his orbit, that exists around him, that is filling his Congress right now, that's enabling every single one of his shittier behaviors. And what seems to me, I think Joe Biden is right when he says that this election is about the character of America. We're about to slug it out over whether or not we're comfortable with the idea of a white ethno state. Like, I wish it wasn't so blatantly obvious, but it really just appears like, do we want a fascist white ethno state? Is that what the American people want?
I get
And-
that. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, it's go ahead.
I see that because, like, I feel like the Republican Party is becoming more and more just the party for white people. It's definitely a party that's, I mean, it's always been right, but it's far more right than it was before. And what I fear is that there's right now going to be, this is based on the premise that Joe Biden wins. So let's just say Joe Biden wins. Republicans are probably going to have to do some soul searching, especially, if Donald Trump is solely responsible for having the Republicans lose their control of Congress, something they've been working towards since 2010. They took control of the House in 2010. They took control of the Senate in 2014. And then Donald Trump undid all that within the span of 4 years.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some soul searching. You're already seeing, first of all, the talking points like deficits being talked about again. This is personified perfectly in Ben Sass's comments, his criticisms of Trump. There are a lot of Republicans that kind of have this feeling like he's not going to win, and it's like rats jumping off a sinking ship. I feel like they want to distance themselves from Trump, but they should always be reminded that they enabled him. So, I feel like the Republican Party is going to try and do its old games before, but unfortunately, Trump has made a permanent stain on that party. So I don't know how much they're going to be successful at making the Republican Party as it was before Trump got in. I feel like it's a staple now. I feel like white nationalism, fascism is just a hallmark of this party now.
Some people are okay with it.
Well,
that's the dirty part that I think as a nation we really have to face.
No, yeah.
That
I agree.
I think, we, especially in lefty space, we like to talk about how it looks like we're reaching critical mass. It looks like people are starting to wake up. No, we're this tiny fucking little sliver over here.
The problem is that these people have fascist beliefs, but they don't think it's fascist.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem, is that people who are embracing fascism are not seeing it as fascism. Yeah. They're seeing it as traditionalism. They're seeing it as
or just straight conservatism.
Just straight conservatism. It's been pushed so far to the right for so long that they've lost the plot. They lost the plot. Somewhere it became okay to sacrifice liberty in the name of profit. And that wasn't, for a very long time, that wasn't a Republican thing.
I will say that liberty was a talking point, but profit's always been the initial, the people that fund the Republicans are always about privatization and dismantling the infrastructure of this government.
Well, in our lifetimes, yes, that's absolutely true.
I agree. That old guard, that Reagan shit, even that George H.W. Bush stuff, that's long been dead. That's been replaced with Newt Gingrich's like combative conservatism, followed by George W. Bush's compassionate conservatism, what it is, and it's been finally, come full circle with the Tea Party movement, and it's only been further radicalized because of that. I feel like that the Republican Party is unfortunately, you're seeing this shit now with QAnon. You got Republican congressmen running that are QAnon supporters.
I can't even.
That's how fucking far fringe they're becoming.
I cannot for the life of me figure out how we. Like, there are people in government right now that are serious conspiracy theorists that are like throwing out fucking reptilians from flat hollow earth type shit. And like,
well, fascism itself is based on conspiracies. Like, they're blood. Yeah. I could sort of put, vaguely two and two together in that sense. But I feel like the Republican Party is going to stick on this right motif. What's going to happen, however, this is where I'm very I'm raising eyebrows to the Lincoln Project, because they're not doing this out of the good of their hearts. They're looking to buy themselves into the Democrat Party because they want to fixate the Democrat Party as this. They would think it's moderate, but it's definitely more right of center sort of new party. And right now, you have them combating it, more the old guard Democrats, and you have this rising, younger, more progressive wing that wants to were first under Bernie Sanders and now is under AOC and the rest of the squad that has now grown from the primaries. They're going to fight over the soul of the Democrat Party, because you're seeing this polarization is still happening. And I know that Joe Biden, he may be successful if he can be that fulcrum that like balances the two, but it's only going to be exacerbated because the neoliberal system is not working.
I mean, he better fucking be able to balance it in some way. But he's not going to be able to shut the rest of the left up.
No.
And one of my like dream scenarios to come out of this election and moving into the 2022 and 2024 elections is to see the Green Party really step up and actually have a seat at the table as a proper leftist movement. They're moving in that direction. They're courting that demographic. They've started. They picked a really shit time to start. They should have been on this like properly a couple of years ago. But no, they had fucking Jill Stein instead. And this is fucking,
I want to see.
I want to run an anti-vaxxer, you stupid piece of shit.
I want to see. That depends on the turnout. How many people actually vote third party in this election? Like how much, for instance, how much Howie Hawkins gets. I'm interested to see that.
I would love to see. I
mean, there's talk right now, like,
but this is the wrong. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's talk right now, battling within the Democrat Party, and there's also progressives and leftists that want to leave and form a new like People's Party. This is talked about with people like Cornel West and Breonna Joy-Gray, who is the spokeswoman for the Bernie Sanders campaign. They want to talk. I don't know if I'm on board with this, but they want to talk about just forming a totally different party that would co-opt disaffected progressive Democrats, even Greens, into this new coalition. So the left is divided on that. I don't, my stake right now is seeing what we can do in terms of getting leftist friendly policies get passed under the Biden administration.
We can probably make a bit of headway on that. I'm not going to rule it out. One of the things that, and I'm not entirely opposed to getting like a new progressive party rolling either. The main function of third parties in American politics, they don't tend to stick around long. It's only during seismic shifts in American politics that one will rise up and become one of the primary two. It's only happened twice. Words. Okay, what they do is they shift the discourse. They bring light to a different issue that now the other two parties, if they want to silence that new party and keep that share of the voter base, they now have to address it in some tangible way. And so, like, getting a proper progressive party, sure, I'm for it. It doesn't have to be the Greens. It just should be someone. I would love to see a high-profile third-party attempt that actually brings leftist ideals up.
Okay, good point. But unfortunately, the apparatus that we currently have right now doesn't really favor that type of initiative. Like, what I would like to see,
it doesn't.
So I'm just I'll lay out my what I would like to see done in the first 2 years. Should Joe Biden win, Puerto Rican DC statehood, and then reinstitution, reform of the Voting Rights Act that allows people to actually vote without the fear of voter suppression, and then
overturn Citizens United.
No, that has to be. It doesn't have that have to be due through the courts, though, right? I mean, I'm talking about legislative.
No, you can
agenda.
do it. You can do it legislatively too. You can pass a new law that makes that law void.
Oh, you mean like campaign finance reform? Okay, yeah, no, I agree with you on that. But what I want to see is, we need to eat. And this, I guess, this has to be done at a more state level. But we saw it with Maine. Maine has ranked choice voting now. I feel like a lot of people
That's
are just, they feel disenfranchised and they choose not to vote because they feel that they're limited by options. And, the idea, and this is based on my axiomatic preference that, you get enough, you maximize the people participating in democracy, and that you get that's in theory, you get the best results because you have the most participation. And if, with ranked choice voting, you allow more than two options, basically. But yeah, something has to change from, the apparatus of our voting structure. And once that's done, then we can talk about, forming new parties that are more in line with our principles. But right now, it sucks, but we have to kind of work within this apparatus to actually get change done. I don't know.
Can you hold that thought for just a second? I really got to pee.
Okay, that's
living
fine.
that Spiro life. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem.
So we were at ranked choice voting, changing the apparatus, and
I feel that ranked choice is going to have to be done at like how each state is votes. Obviously, it's going to have to be done at their level, but making it so that voter participation is maximized can be done at a federal level. We can have a national holiday for voting. We can reform the Voting Rights Act. That can be done at federal levels. That's a start. I don't feel that this Biden administration is a be-all, ends-all to how we get things done. It's a useful tool that how we can get more leftist policies initiated in the future.
Joe Biden is a very well-paid, useful idiot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm making a video on voting that hopefully I'll get before it will be done before the election. But I mean, I'm just trying. I mean, because this is a hotly contested subject on the left. Should you or should you not vote for Joe Biden? And should you not vote at all? How
strange is that?
Let alone voting for Joe Biden, but just voting in general, or if you decide to vote for third party. But I think we have made the choice based on what we feel as a benefit. Why we're choosing Joe Biden, but
yeah, and I think we've made it pretty clear that this isn't the dude. This is not where we stop. No. Not even close.
No. I mean, the work is just getting started.
Yeah. In fact, just the fact that leftist thought in America is we're just starting to find our own voice again.
Yeah.
After quite a long time of being completely repressed to the point of near uselessness.
I mean, this stuff would never been talked about back in as early as 2014, just 6 years ago.
No, I sure as hell wasn't on this page in 2014.
No, I wasn't either. So yeah, it's contested, and the only reason why I bring this up, and the only reason why I'm making a video on voting, is because there needs to be a maximization of voter turnout. Now it's looking good. I mean, you're looking at the numbers right now of early voting, and
it is looking really good, isn't it?
But Republicans and Trump, they got the dirty tricks to play. They got the voter suppression. They got the individual state governments saying that they're going to stop counting the mail-in votes. And a lot of them are well positioned within the courts because a lot of them are very conservative leaning. That they'll use the courts to stop it.
They gotta go pretty fucking deep to really make that one stick. Because especially with the volume that mail-in votes now have,
they're going to do this, and it's only as effective if the margins are close. If more and more people vote and they choose Joe Biden, then their efforts are minimalized. They have no effect.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I hope for large voter participation. The way I see, I'm going to call this right now. I don't know if we'll make another video for the election. Maybe we'll make a couple more, but and I may change my mind. This is not set in stone, but I feel like right now the results after November 3rd, when everything's finally done, I feel like Joe Biden's going to narrowly win. It's not going to be a blowout. I don't think Trump's going to win. Not so certain on that, though. I'm only saying this because it's not looking good for him right now. It's not 2016. He is an incumbent. He's not, people have seen what he's done.
Yeah.
And
he's part of the establishment.
They're judging him on his past performance. So you're right. He is part of the establishment now.
He can't be an anti-establishment candidate anymore. He literally is the establishment.
So I think it's going to be a close election, but I feel like Joe Biden's going to squeak through. That's going to be good in the short term. But the long term, that's going to give fuel for the Republicans for some type of comeback resurgence. And that's why I feel like it doesn't end with this election. We got to keep going. We got to keep pushing.
I don't know.
I don't know what you think about that. I don't know what you think the results are going to be, or
gosh, I hate trying to make predictions like this.
I know it sucks.
You're almost always guaranteed to be wrong.
Yeah. We can talk about. I mean, you make one now, and then we can talk about another video closer to the election, whether or not your mind has changed. Like, well,
all right.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm seeing. A significant chance of a Biden blowout, but I'm not seeing it as a sure thing. And I am finding it more and more difficult to believe in a Trump victory of any kind, although that might just be me selectively leaving some important shit out on account of I'm terrified of another Trump administration.
So, I mean,
he will have nothing to lose. He will have literally nothing to lose and everything to gain at that point.
We're at least in the same boat that Trump is not going to get reelected.
No, I sure hope that he doesn't. At least I'm pretty positive that he won't. But again, like I said about 2016 earlier in this video,
so
we could. I mean, statistics work that way.
Let me rephrase it. So we hope that Trump loses. We don't know, but should he lose? I'm of the position that Biden's going to squeak by. You feel like Biden's going to do a blowout.
I see that's the other thing. I'm not 100% sure of that. I think when I say there's a significant chance of a Biden blowout, what I mean is I see greater than a 25% chance of a Biden blowout, or around 25%, let's say. Be a little bit more conservative.
So in terms of like, hang on, let me do something that might help us in this.
I don't see him winning big like Obama did. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, so not an Obama blowout. Okay.
I mean, well, an Obama blowout would be a rare thing, but a significant victory, winning both popular and electoral by a wide enough margin that it is not reasonable to challenge. That's what I'm hoping for hardest. And I see it as a real possibility, but I don't know how much of my fucking life savings I'd be putting on that wager.
Okay. All right. Here, how about I share this? All right. Just before we end it, how about we do? Okay, so do you see that?
I see a little sliver of screen.
What? Right,
I see a sliver. It says, "There you go." That's the one.
Oh,
it was just there. It's just there.
Yeah, sorry. Try that again. Where was it? Hang on. Oh wait, I accidentally minimized it. All right, let me open up this electoral map deal, and we'll share it. All right. Now do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what 538 forecast is. So we've got We got Biden at 334 and Trump 125. Okay, so
Yeah, see, like I said, there is
All right.
definitely a non-zero chance of a
So-
Biden blowout.
all right. So looking at this, I feel like, despite the fact that Texas is swing, I'm going to say that Texas is going to go red. So now Trump's at 163. I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to feel like he's going to get Ohio and Iowa. Okay.
That's still not even close.
So Georgia. I'm going to give him Georgia. He's at 203. We'll even give him the Maine. Oh, wait, here. We'll give him all of Maine there. Even though this is the
That's not gonna fucking happen.
I'm gonna try and direct people. I'm gonna try. There's a guy I watch on YouTube that is he follows the elections and does predictions and stuff. He actually I gotta go. I'll put him in the YouTube in the description. I'll put his a link to his videos or his channel, because he's been covering this election and he's predicting like it's not looking good for Trump. And
oh no, it sure is not.
So you could be right. I could be wrong. It could be more of a blowout for Trump. Like it could, and that could be based on just a complete repudiation of him. So,
and he does deserve to be repudiated.
Yeah.
Even a lot of Republicans that have never voted Democrat before.
But I want to
are
stress.
going to do it.
I want to stress that's only based on the turnout, and that's based on you swallowing whatever your misgivings you have about Biden and going out and voting for him.
Yeah.
If you
Sadly.
now, if you are in a state like California or New York or Massachusetts and you've already voted third party, I get it. I'm more specifically talking about you in the swing states. Even Texas. If you're in Texas and you haven't voted yet, vote for Joe Biden. So
Yeah. If you're in Pennsylvania and you haven't voted yet,
Yeah.
vote for Joe Biden. Like
if you're in Ohio,
we were firm blue last time around, and we went red, and it shocked the shit out of every progressive in Pennsylvania at the time. The existential angst of election night 2016.
Yeah. I hope Ohio goes blue, but considering looking at 2018, the only person that was voted was Democrat was Sherrod Brown. Everybody else was Republican. I'm very anxious about that, but I hope that, and I think Trump right now has a 0.5 advantage in the polls. So, I really hope that this will be the first election that, because Republicans have to win both Ohio and Florida if they win the presidency. So this may be the first election where Ohio will be seen as no longer considered as a swing state, which is rather depressing for me. So
that stinks.
Yeah, I know.
That's hard to deal with.
It is. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just end it right there. We'll pick it up. We'll pick it up next time. We'll talk about some other things. Maybe next week. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like maybe get 2 more videos in before the election. I unfortunately will be working on election night, and it's not like we're going to know the results anyway that day. So
yeah,
I recommend people tuning into other stations.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to go live on election night.
No.
That's not even a possibility.
No. So thank you, Cassidy, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. So we'll see you next time.
Yelling at clowns. It was great.
Yes, it was fun. All right, we'll do it again. We'll do it again soon.
All right.
All right,
Take it easy.
care. See ya. Bye-bye.